Faster Music presents How to Tackle Those Short Answer Questions in Music 2. This presentation is designed for students studying Music 2 in the preliminary and HSC courses. The information is based on HSC examinations, trial and preliminary papers dating back to 2010. Music 2 Oral Skills Session 1, How to Answer Identify Type Questions. So, what is an identify type question? Well, identify can include outline, identify and describe, and they're often linked with the verbs how used, or the use of. So outline how X is used, or describe the use of blah. We also see that sometimes there's a specific target in mind, relationship between the voice and the piano, use of specific concepts in specific bars, compositional devices in relation to a specific time period, challenges for the musician, roles of instruments or layers, way instruments are used. So what is the big difference between outline, identify and describe? Because they've all got subtle differences. With outline, by definition, outline means a general description or plan showing the essential features of something but not the detail. So the strategy with an outline question should be to attempt to identify the order of events, like use labels or identifiers to help get your answer across. Some of the questions outline the use of structure, outline the roles of instruments, outline the use of texture and tone colour. So we're looking at a general description with essential features. So it's identifying, it's IDing those things, even though the question's an outline. So therefore, what does identify mean? Well, by definition, identify says establish or indicate who or what someone or something is, recognise or distinguish. So this one you want to name things. With identify, you want to be able to name devices, features, elements, and that's where your terminology is really important. So what are some of the questions we get? Well, identify compositional devices, identify the performing media, identify the musical features, identify the harmonic features, identify the melodic development, identify the melodic features. Okay, so they're all identify questions. So we need you to find them, name them, and tell me what they're doing there. And then, of course, there's describe. Well, describe by definition says give a detailed account in words. So this is where you get to combine the two. You want to identify the terminology and you want to describe who, what, and where. So some of the questions, describe the use of pitch, any of the concepts. Describe how tension's used, describe how unity is used, roles and relationships, compositional devices, all of those will come under a describe question. Now, there's one more thing we have to take into consideration, the word how and use. So there are subtle differences between the how and use, and it can get a little confusing. So this is what glues your question together. How is a term used to explain what actions are performed in order to make something happen? So how are actions, whereas use is the function. So there's a slight difference. Wants to know the function. So describe how pitch is used in this excerpt. According to our definition, you should give a detailed account in words of what pitch items you've identified, their function, and the actions that make it happen. Because it's asking you how and use. So describe how. So what action, how is it action, how is it used? And how is it used? What's its function? What's the point of it being there? So, if we look that in context, you can download this score here. Okay. The question was, Prelude and Fugue in A minor by J.S. Bach. Identify 3 different uses of pitch. So with pitch, we're looking for the horizontal and vertical combinations of the different notes on the stave. So when you're looking for horizontal, look for obvious musical devices like sequences, imitation, pedal point, ornamentation. If you're looking for vertical combinations, then look for harmonic devices like circular fifths, tonic-dominant relationships, pitch, suspensions, chord forms, parallel movement. You can use your assumed knowledge to pull up information about Bach and the time period, which of course is the Baroque period. Now remember, this whole presentation, you can download the presentation, which gives you access to the score and of course the video for you to have a look at the question. The question was identify and describe 3 different uses of pitch. So here's a sample question. Again, on the presentation you can download the score. So the question was, describe the compositional devices which are reflective of music of the last 25 years. It gave you bar numbers in bar 1 to 133 and 52 to 78. Okay? And so you had 2 sections. The first thing you need to know, what are the compositional devices of music of the last 25 years? Well, that's where your study comes in. So this was the score sample that we got. All right, now it might be a little tricky to see on this particular presentation, but you can have a look at the downloaded score. So what do you see here? Well, you see multiple groupings. You see parallel movement because you've got multiple groupings here. You've got parallel movement here. So now you want to, it says describe compositional devices, the description of who, what, where, and why. Aim for lots of detail. So you could say, well, the piano plays parallel intervals. Yes, it does. Well, let's make that a bit more detailed. The piano plays parallel octaves using minims. That's a pretty fair thing. Let's make it even more detailed again. The piano plays parallel octaves using minims, opening with a leap of an augmented fourth from D to G sharp, ending with minim triplets against the multiple groupings in the upper winds, therefore creating rhythmic interest. Now, it says, what are the compositional devices used in music of the last 25 years? So this could be one of the compositional devices. Now you could also say flute and clarinet play a descending run. Well, that's not really a compositional device, but flute and clarinet playing a partially chromatic descending run using groupings of 10 semiquavers, that's a compositional device. There's also antiphony as well. You could add that in there. With reference to the score, same thing. Here's the next section. What have we got here with this one? Multimeter and stems without note heads. So I've got multimetric writing and stems without note heads, or what's called unwritten notation. So here's a description. Here's a possible answer. Use of multimeter from 5/4 through 6/8, 5/16, 3/8, and 5/16. That's a description. The rapid changing of time signatures affects the pulse and creates rhythmic displacement. Well, that's a function. This is further emphasised by the use of rests in the syncopated repeated tone in piano bar 1. That's a description and score reference. Use of aleatoric elements in common music in the last 25 years, notated as stems without note heads, creates an atonal effect resulting in tension. So you can see how that answer, that sample answer, has ticked all of the boxes of what we're looking for with regard to the question. Describe the compositional devices. Here's another score sample. Harmonic movement. Use of unusual harmonic movement that moves chromatically. So that's a description. In bar 3, the piano right hand changes one note between the first 2 chords. That's a description with a score reference. Chords become denser with the final chord being a cluster. Description with a label. This type of harmonic movement is common in music of the last 25 years. So that could be an example of a description of what goes on here. Now, your turn. So this is where you get an opportunity to try your own. Describe the use of dynamics and expressive techniques in bars 15 to 23. So the work is Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin. Read the question, look at the title of the work and the composer in the bar range. Pull up your assumed knowledge. Identify the dramatic dynamic changes in the bar range. Identify the techniques in the bar range and comment on the function of the elements you've identified. Now, here's some examples. When you download the score and have a look at it, there's a crescendo leading to a single sforzando. Why have they got this? What's the point of it? Is it leading up to a change in the music? Terrace dynamics is a build-up of layers. So is it to create tension? Is it to lead to a new section? Specific articulations, like staccato, marcato slurs. What's the point of having those on those particular notes at that particular time in music? Are they trying to identify something specific, like maybe a rhythmic element? Special markings like glissando, bends, growls. What's the reason for this being used? Are there markings in the change of music? Is it stylistic? Are they being used in a call and response with another layer? So there's some sample things that you could have a look at when you're looking at this score. Thank you so much for joining me here at KCM, and I hope that this presentation was useful. If it was, please tell your friends and please share this on your social media. Don't forget to get a copy of your presentation. You can get a copy in the details below, so in the actual YouTube details below. And don't forget to follow me on YouTube, Facebook, the Teachers Facebook group, and the Student Facebook group. If you click on the link and make a copy, this will go to your Google Drive. Once you're there, you can download it. You should be able to open an Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat. You may be asked to enable content and you should approve, otherwise your audio won't play. There's a sample question 1 and 2 for you, and if you need any help, you can click the link here. Again, these links are only available on the presentation when you download it. Thanks so much for watching and have a beautiful afternoon.